Hey everyone, it's Justin and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I have a super fun shaker card that I created using some brand new products from scrapbook.com, so let's get into some of the details. I'm using the special delivery stamp set and the party fan shape die set to make this new baby shaker card. I'm also going to be pulling in a pattern paper pad using the birthday collection, and I am going to be selecting a couple patterns. The first is these party balloons that I just think kind of give a little bit of a new baby color scheme, so we're going to play off this pattern a little bit. Now I am going to be making what's called an infinity shaker die, and that is when the shaker element stretches from one end to another of the card. And we are going to start by flipping the panel over and using some 1/4-inch tape in order to adhere our shaker window. I am taking the 1/4-inch tape and I am outlining the back side of the card to ensure that it's about as close to the edge as possible without going over, because I don't need that excess traveling outside of the card. So after I get everything all nicely lined up, and I am using my scrapbook.com scissors with a non-stick finish on the blade, which really helps to trim up any sort of adhesive because it doesn't get any sort of a gunk. So make sure that if you're using a scissor, it does have a non-stick finish just for a little bit of extra convenience. Now I'm taking a piece of leftover stamp packaging that I've trimmed down to about 6 inches by 4 3/4, and I'm cutting little sort of diagonal lines between the corners of the acetate and the corners of my pattern paper. I'm going to remove the backing of my tape, and I'm going to very carefully pull the acetate so that it tightly fits the edge of the card. You're going to want to repeat this for all 3 sides. I did not pull up the backing tape from the top because I am going to do that last. And if you seal the shaker window entirely before putting shaker elements inside, you're going to have to start over. And we don't want to do that, of course. And when I say to pull the acetate tightly, I just mean that you're not going to want it to have any sort of excess that is still hanging over the card, because you're not going to be able to trim it off. Now what I've created is essentially a pocket that I am going to be able to use. There is going to be a little bit that you're going to need to very carefully trim because we cut diagonals, so I'm doing that lightly off camera. Since I've created a shaker pocket, I am going to take some confetti shimmer flakes and pour them inside of my shaker panel. I do shake a little bit to make sure that there's no holes, and then I'm going to pull in some mermaid shimmer flakes because I am just mixing up that baby pink and that baby blue color, and I think that they're going to mix together very nicely. The new shimmer flakes from scrapbook.com do come in a nice jar that's designed to have a twist off top to make it for really easy pouring of the shimmer flakes for your project. This twist off top really comes in handy for a card like this. After I have all of my shimmer flakes in place, I remove the backing of the 4th and final strip on the back of my card, and then I take that top piece of acetate, fold it over to seal up my infinity shaker element. Now when you fold over that acetate, once again there will be a little bit of excess. Very carefully trim it off just because you're not going to want to see it for the final card, but you're also not going to want to accidentally nick your shaker panel. Here you can see all of the shimmer flakes floating around inside of our infinity shaker background, and we can focus on other elements of the card. I'm grabbing the party fan shape dies now, and we are going to use a couple more patterns from the birthday pattern paper collection, including the yellow stars, pink sprinkles, and the blue confetti patterns. I now begin to arrange which die cuts I'm cutting from which piece of pattern paper. I'm using the largest party fan on the blue confetti background, and I am going to be using 2 of the smaller party fans for each of the other patterns. So I'm just going to be doing 1 blue, but then 2 pink and 2 yellow. I die cut my party fans off camera, and here you can see the collection of different patterns that I have die cut up. With all of the party fans die cut, I'm now going to arrange them on my background shaker panel, and once I'm happy with the placement, I am going to take them off and then going to use that 1/4-inch double-sided adhesive tape to adhere each of the party fans to my background. When working with a background that has a slick finish like the acetate does, I like to use a dry adhesive, such as double-sided adhesive tape, so that I can get an immediate adhering of my element to my background. If I was to use a liquid adhesive, it would really slosh around for a little bit. It wouldn't lock into place immediately. It would take longer to dry, and it's just easier sometimes to work with something that's going to immediately adhere to your project. In addition, because I sort of pre-mapped out where I wanted each of my die cuts to fall, I don't really have to rely on the forgiveness that liquid adhesive would offer to me, where it would allow me to sort of position my elements and give me more time. Because when you do use a dry adhesive, it's going to basically lock the element into place immediately, and that didn't bother me with this project at all. Now, I did end up arranging my party fans in a way that I thought sort of gave a little bit of interest to the layout. I didn't repeat any colors touching each other directly, and I just really like how everything turns out with them once I get everything nicely adhered. Once all of my party fans are nicely into place, I'm pulling out the special delivery stamp set once again, and I did pre-color up the stork image with some Spectrum Noir Tri-Blend markers off camera. I'm just going to map out where I want that to go, and then I am going to use some of the aqua paper from the birthday pattern paper collection, and we're going to stamp out our sentiment. I am using the Congrats sentiment from the special delivery set, and I am going to pick it up with my Mini Misty window, and then we are going to stamp it out with some All That Jazz ink. I really like how this color looks on top of this aqua paper, and I think that it's just nicely darker from it, that it's going to contrast nicely. We are also going to add a second sentiment underneath that says, "Welcome, little one," which we can pick up with our window and stamp out in the same All That Jazz ink. I really like when stamp sets have what I call buildable sentiments, where you can combine different combinations because it gives the stamp set a lot more utility. I grab in some detail scissors by Spellbinders to begin the process of fussy cutting out my sentiment. I knew that by combining the two sentiments in the way that I did, there was no way that I was going to be able to utilize any sort of coordinating dies. I really like to fussy cut out sentiments because it makes them feel extra special. Now, if you watch the way that I'm fussy cutting, and I will be transparent, this portion of the video is doubled in speed, which is kind of crazy to think about. But when you fussy cut your sentiments, watch that I'm not really moving my scissors at all. What I'm moving is the paper, and that allows me to really get a nice cut. I do trim off the excess a little bit, but after that, it's really just me sort of maneuvering the paper around my scissor, and my scissors also never really fully close either. This allows me to get a really nice cut around this Congrats Welcome Little One sentiment. After the sentiment is all cut out, I am going to use a little bit of liquid adhesive to adhere the back of my sentiment to the front of the little stork image that I colored up earlier. Now, the reason that I'm adhering these two images together is because I want them to function as one unit on the card, as I'm going to put some foam tape behind them in order to give them a little bit of lift for the project. So I will trim off my foam tape. I'm not going to show you all the foam tape that I put on the back, but I do enough to cover the entire unit, and I'm going to position it nicely onto our background. When I'm satisfied with the positioning of my sentiment and image unit, I'm then going to work on getting the card base ready. Once again, I'm pulling in that 1/4 inch double-sided adhesive, and this is usually something I don't use for a card base when I'm adhering a card panel to it. However, because my card panel does have some of that acetate on the back of it, it's going to give me a better grip if I use a dry adhesive as opposed to a liquid adhesive. It's going to give me a really nice seal around it. So I'm carefully putting my card panel onto my card base, and once that's nicely positioned, we're going to add a couple little embellishments to the card just to give it a little extra pop. I am pulling in some silver sparkle spots. These are from Trinity Stamps, and I am going to use these just to add a few little spots of shimmer to the card. I'm going to start off by showing you a couple where I put into place in the blue big fan that we had die cut. I love that these little sparkle spots give just the appropriate amount of shimmer. They also come in a lot of colors too, so I'm slowly adding them to my collection. I also love that they are flat embellishments, so they really easily adhere to our project. They don't have raised edges like sequins do, because sometimes it's hard to get sequins to fully adhere. Once they're into place, my shaker card is fully completed and it's ready to be mailed off to someone who's expecting a new little one in their family. Remember that Infinity Shaker cards are easy. Don't get intimidated by them, and you probably already have some extra product packaging laying around to grab some acetate from to create your very own. Thank you so very much for stopping by my channel today for some shimmery shaker card inspiration. Now, if you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow me on all socials at JustinNoteByJustin, and I do have the links for the products used in today's tutorial in the description below. Using those links do help support my crafting and at no additional cost to you, of course. Thank you again, everyone. Happy crafting, and I'll see you real soon.